Welcome you all to this today's presentation, An Apology for Poetry by Sir Philip Sidney, a defense of poetry against criticism. First, I would like to explain why he started his criticism, or why he started to analyze the importance of writing poetry. And he wrote this in response, or you can even say in attack on where Stephen Gauzen's attack on poetry in the school of abuse was there. Like he tries to address it. So there his central argument is simple yet profound, and Philip Sidney tries to eloquently defend poetry as a noble art. And his central argument also we can make out that poetry imitates life to both teach and delight, and making it not only a source of pleasure but also a powerful tool for moral and intellectual education. So then, what is poetry? According to Philip Sidney, how he defines poetry? Poetry as an art of imitation, representation, counterfeiting, or a speaking picture. Philip Sidney tries to explain any poetry or any poem as speaking picture. The ultimate purpose of writing poetry, according to Philip Sidney, he tries to explain that unlike other artists, is not limited by reality but creates a world that elevates human life to its highest potential. So, ultimate purpose is to inspire virtuous action. Poetry's dual aim is, as already explained, didactic and aesthetic, maybe teaching, and also that gives delight for readers. And he says, poetry lifts human life to the highest altitudes of perfection. So, where mastering the poetry writing or reading certainly helps anybody to become a good human being. According to Puritan criticism, we can even consider it as charges against poetry by Gauzen's. Gauzen's accusations are as follows. He tries to condemn poetry. He tries to say poetry is a waste of time. Poetry is the mother of lies. Poetry is the nurse of abuse. And also he notes Plato rightly banished poets from his ideal republic. So these are the acquisitions made by Gauzen, and these charges prompted Sidney to craft a passionate rebuttal defending poetry's significance and integrity. What's poetry's significance and why we have to read poetry? So refuting all those, Sidney tries to defend poetry. So defense of poetry can be observed in An Apology for Poetry. Sidney systematically addresses these acquisitions. Poetry is not a waste of time. Poetry teaches virtue more effectively than other disciplines. Example, poetry in in ancient Greek and Roman education. The role played by poetry he tries to explain. And also he says poetry is not the mother of lie. Poets do not claim their fiction as truth. Poetic truths are universal and ideal according to what he explains. And the third point, poetry is not the nurse of abuse. Abuses stem for individuals, not poetry itself. So, history and philosophy also depict battles and violences. So, violence, it's not only poetry which will be depicting. Many other areas are there, many other subjects are there which will be defining violence, which will be defining war situations. And coming to the fourth point, where Gauzen had given Plato was right to banish poets from his ideal republic. Here Philip Sidney tries to say that Plato's critic has been misunderstood. Plato only condemned poets who corrupted youth, not the art of poetry itself. So this is very clear. like poetic elements were not attacked, poets who were not writing truth and also writing towards the upliftment of society were condemned. Then coming to the next point, where poetry as the supreme art. So he tries to defend, Philip Sidney defends and also says that he also elevates poetry above both philosophy and history and its ability to teach virtues. So philosophy teaches by abstract principles which can be dry and inaccessible. History teaches by specific examples, but these are often tied to flawed characters or incomplete truths, we can say. Poetry combines the strength of both presenting universal truths in vivid, inspiring narratives. Unlike history, poetry creates an ideal golden world, he says. So, here he says that a brazen world, that is golden world superior to nature's brazen world. So, golden world offering a vision of life as it could and should be. So, maybe the idealistic state. Then coming to why poetry matters, he says it's like a speaking picture and it moves readers to virtuous action through poetic justice where good triumphs over evil. Poetry inspires moral courage. Among its forms, Sidney holds the epic in the highest regard as it portrays heroic deeds that encourages patriotism and bravery. Poetry, he argues, has the unique power to simultaneously teach, delight and transform. So, after all this, among genres, the epic is the most esteemed for its heroic ideals. To quote, poetry nourished ignorance before any other art or science. So, to conclude, we can say poetry is timeless. Why it is timeless? Sidney elevates poetry as the first light giver to ignorance, and also poetry fulfills the ultimate goal of all arts and science and also underscores the universal elements and timeless revelation of poetry, he says. So, finally, to reflect and explore, after reading Philip Sidney, how does Sidney's defense of poetry resonate today? Can modern poetry teach and delight in the same way can be observed? And can contemporary poetry still teach and inspire us? And also we can explore these questions and discover how poetry continues to shape our understanding of life and virtues. So, the essay which was written earlier by Philip Sidney in response to Gausson's acquisitions, now also we can observe poetry is very much relevant to contemporary world, and also poetry plays very crucial role in creating, modeling or to make a human being very perfect. In this modern world, knowing the poetry, reading, writing or exploring the world of literature really matters a lot. So, many science people or anybody undergo the expression of literature because literature helps them to find answers in, it may be in virtual way or it may be in real way. Thank you for listening to the presentation.